laps, so we need to go 100 laps down. Don't matter, we're already need to fix it. You are the leader here? Let's go!
And what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Historic Hot Laps. Busy race weekend. Let's dive into some coverage. We're going to kick today off with the NXT doubleheader at Laguna Seca, IndyCar, minor leagues, if you will. And big spoiler alert on this one, Calais owned the weekend. Starting off Saturday, Calais grabbed pole position for both race 1 and race 2, his first 2 poles of the 2025 season. Apparently, this is his track to be, beating championship leader Dennis Hogger each time. That's back-to-back Firestone P1 awards at Laguna Seca, and it's quite a trend there with the NXT Series and Laguna Seca. Pole winners have won the last 10 NXT races at this track. Race 1, Clay led every one of the 35-lap race, holding off Hogger to win by just 0.209 seconds, making it the closest NXT finish at Laguna Seca in series history, so that's pretty cool there. Hogger finished P2, while Josh Pearson came home P3 in his first podium in 33 starts. Come Sunday, race 2, rain delays aside, Calais again led wire to wire, claimed the sweep. Hogger stumbled, contact with teammate Loki Hughes with 9 laps to go, derailed his race. He slipped all the way to 16th place, and there's only 19 cars in that field, so that's a pretty rough day for the points leader. Josh Pearson added a second P2, and Callum Hedge took third again in that one. This weekend was pretty seismic for the standings, with Hogger entering with a 94-point lead over Calais thanks to Clay's 2 wins, poles, Hogger's DNF. That leads now down to just 42 points with 3 races left in the season. It's still a decent lead, obviously, for Hughes. After finishing P6 and P15, still sits third place in points behind by 89 points of Hogger. So, yeah, quite an interesting shakeup in the points on that one. Current standings now, we just talked about Hogger's in first, Calais back just a little bit in second, and Hughes in third. For Calais, though, man, 2 poles, 2 wins, perfect weekend. Cut the gap from 94 to 42. Third win of 2025, 4th overall win of his season, of his career. With Hogger being so consistent, but Sunday's incident really taking his advantage out in the points. Now he's under some actual pressure. First time he's probably felt any pressure this season because he's been pretty dominant overall. And it's a little late in the season for a good run, but Josh Pearson, we got to talk about that for a second. Back-to-back P3 finishes, first podium in 33 attempts. He's got some seriously good momentum moving forward there. Clay now has the momentum going into Portland on August 10th. With only 3 races remaining, this swing made him a legitimate title threat. Hogger's advantage doesn't feel so safe anymore. Hughes is lurking but still chasing. 3 horses in this race now. So, real story, can Calais overtake Hogger outright and get that NXT championship? Will Hogger rebound under pressure? Pearson might be able to shake things up too a little bit. Pretty interesting turn of events. If you thought the 2025 Indy NXT title race was settled, think again, I guess. Calais cutting that lead like he did. So, next up, they've got Portland, like I said, August 10th, and yeah, it's going to be interesting. Let's take a dive over to IndyCar. Today we're going to turn our attention to the IndyCar race at Laguna Seca. Alex Palou delivered another masterclass in the Java House Grand Prix of Monterey, turned the championship tide even further. Palou started on pole, 5th of his season, wasted no time, leading 84 of 95 laps in a dominant display from start to finish. We also saw something pretty cool. Nolan Siegel briefly grabbed the lead on an alternate strategy, but Palou retook the command and never looked back. He also earned bonus points for leading a lap and leading the most laps, stacking up every available point on the weekend for him. We also saw a good battle coming out of Christian Lundgaard. Strong run earned him 2nd place and valuable momentum for the team over there at McLaren. McLaren's really coming around at the end of the season here. Colton Herta came in 3rd. He was obviously the favorite to win, being his history here. And I mean, still on the podium is pretty awesome. Replicated his season high podium from earlier races, showing Andretti Honda's strength over there. And that's the track that Herta built, right? That's what they call it. That's their home track, everything else. So good to see that. Pato O'Ward still trying to make things happen. Came in 4th. He came up a little short in his bid to claw back, but significantly hampered Palou's lead. It's getting closer. It is getting closer, much like the NXT. Palou's still quite a ways ahead, but anything can happen with what's left. Scott Dixon in 5th place. Impressive recovery, driving from 19th with the fuel-saving strategy, which we know he always does. Solid top 5 for him. We got 3 races left. Pillow's grip on the championship just tightened a little bit. His lead now stretches to a staggering 121 points over Award, effectively putting title in his hands. I believe, points-wise, if he wins the next race, he might actually have it fully locked up. I have to look at the math on that again. But yeah, updated standings. You got Pillow at 590 points, Award at 469, said minus 121. Scott Dixon in 3rd, showing that Chip Ganassi championship podium strength at 392. Kyle Kirkwood at 377, who was once in contention for this, and I don't see that being a case now. And Christian Lundgaard coming in 5th in the points right now. So, yeah, mathematically, Award only stands a chance of catching if Pillow either has a DNF or something like that. But, yeah, it's pretty well all but decided at this point. Pillow's 8th win also ties him with rare breed. Only a handful of drivers in history have reached that many victories in one season. Honda scoring 12 wins in 14 races. Pillow delivering the most of those. It's also a huge boost for the manufacturer battle. So Honda's got to be happy. And we still don't know if Honda's coming forward with the new chassis and the new car. We haven't really got down to the bottom of that. But they're having a great season this year. So there you have it. Another commanding weekend for Alex Pillow. Pole, lap sled, full points haul. Extending his championship lead, just 3 races to go. Award still fights, but the odds are pretty steep. Mathematically, as of now, in Portland, Pillow may just be able to clinch that title. So I guess we'll see what happens. And yeah, we're excited for Portland and what's ahead. Let's turn our attention over to NASCAR, the Brickyard 400 weekend. You had all 3 series in Indianapolis, Truck Series at IRP, Indianapolis Raceway Park. Coming into race 16 of the season, Corey Heim had already locked up the regular season championship by finishing 4th at IRP. He led much of this season, was sitting in 5 wins in 2025. Dominant season so far for Riggs as well. Meanwhile, much riding momentum. The racing world was watching to see if he could match his earlier season win or climb even higher. From lights out, Riggs controlled the show, winning Stage 1 and Stage 2 outright, leading jaw-dropping 160 of 200 laps on the .686-mile quad oval, which IRP is an awesome track, by the way. If you guys haven't ever seen it, definitely check out whatever they got going on there. Corey Day running for non-points for the 2nd finishing spot, delivering a career-best effort at IRP. Corey Day's had great success at IRP in the past. Corey Heim, despite clinching his title, grabbed 3rd position, but he did set the fastest lap honors with a 23-second lap. 23.34, I believe, is the actual number there. There were 3 lead changes among 3 drivers and 3 cautions for a total of 24 laps under yellow. Not a real wild race, but Riggs didn't blink. Stuart Friesen originally finished 3rd in his 200th career start. Post-race inspection disqualified his number 52 truck over front height violation, moving him off the results entirely. Unfortunate to see that. Played out plain and simple. It was a statement win for Riggs, his 2nd of the season and his 1st at IRP. Tightens the playoff picture to just 2 races left in the regular season. He now has 2 wins and 9 top 10s across 16 races. Heim walks away with not only the regular season title, but also solid championship momentum. He remains points leader by a healthy margin. With his consistency, he's entering the playoffs as the clear favorite. Riggs lights up at IRP. Heim seals the regular season and playoff chase heats up and heading into this year's 2025 final stretch. Just a lot of good stuff happening over there at the Truck Series with only a couple regular season races left, so we'll cover them as they happen. Jumping over to Xfinity, now we're talking Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Pennzoil 250 at the iconic Indy Oval, and we just got to talk about it. Rookie Connor Zilisch pulled off dramatic win to deliver JRM's 100th series victory as a organization. So congrats to them on that. Super huge achievement. Just awesome emotional victory. And anyone who says that Connor Zilisch is only a road course guy can shut the hell up on that now, because I mean, we're talking, he won at IMS, won at Dover. He's the real deal. So, and 19 years old, I believe. It's insane. Sam Mayer kicked things off in style. He won pole, leading 32 laps early on. Justin Allgaier took stage 2 after leading 37 laps, but the late race drama was just beginning. The points picture was tight. Allgaier held the lead, but Zilisch was charging hard. With getting to the end of the race, laps winding down, Zilisch made his move, passing Taylor Gray on the backstretch with just 2 laps remaining. Gray had led earlier, but he just couldn't hold on. A crash between Eric Almirola and Austin Hill triggered the final caution, setting up a must-win sprint to the finish. Side note, we are going to cover some of the stuff on that Eric Almirola and Austin Hill in our news segment, because it's really escalated to some stuff. That caution from that set the table. Lap 99, Zilich, assisted by Sam Mayer's push, seized the lead and held on through the final lap, edging Mayer by just 0.339 seconds. Awesome that the teammates didn't take each other out, knowing that the boss was there and it was, IMS for the 100th win. And it's kind of awesome they got their 100th win at IMS, such a legendary place. So pretty cool. This is also Zilich's third straight victory, his fifth of this season, and only his sixth career Xfinity win. So obviously 5 of those coming from this season. Super dominant. He becomes the youngest driver to win 5 series wins. And also, again, we talked about it, JR Motorsport's 100th Xfinity victory, which is a huge milestone for that organization. Closed the gap in the standings. Allgaier's points lead shrank to 21 with 5 regular season races remaining. You also had Taylor Gray round out the podium in 3rd place, and that's awesome to see. Kyle Larson was running. He rebounded after a collision. He was running that number 17 car, I believe. He had a collision with Allgaier, but managed to come back up into 4th. Everyone thought he was the man to beat on that, but that didn't help. He was dominant up until that wreck. Others in top 10, we had Ryan Sieg, William Swalich, Sammy Smith, Daniel Dye, Jesse Love, and Dean Thompson. Super cool to see. The race featured 6 cautions, 29 yellow flag laps, 10 lead changes. Average speed was just under 105 miles an hour. So pretty awesome to see that. I can't say it enough that Connor Zilich's just red hot. 3rd straight victory shows he's definitely somebody that you're going to have to mess with to try to move forward in this series. And he's got to be going to that track house number 99 in Cup next year. He has to. I don't see any other way around it. He's going to jump straight to Cup Series next year. Also, again, Taylor Gray, great performance among the rookies. Justin Allgaier was super dominant early, but, had the contact. Just a great race. The Xfinity race at IMS was honestly pretty exciting when you compare it to the Next Gen Cup race, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But let's talk about the Austin Hill, Eric Almirola deal. There's a hefty penalty and what it means for the championship push. Basically, we'll just recap the whole thing here. Late in the race, Hill and Almirola were battling for 4th place. Almirola had nudged Hill, loosening him up in turn 3, nearly wrecking him, but Hill saved it. Seconds later, Hill came down to the right rear of Almirola, sending the 19 car hard into the wall. NASCAR immediately called it reckless driving. You can't right hook anybody, we know that. Holding Hill for 5 laps, the only car to be held during this event. He ended up 34th, 1 lap ahead of Almirola, who finished 35th. Hill's response on the radio as soon as he was held was pretty wild, basically telling NASCAR to go F themselves. He corrected back left and he ran into the 19. We'll play some of the cleaner audio before the penalty was issued here at the end of this, but the rant was captured on live broadcast, added fuel to the fire, almost certainly influencing NASCAR's deliberations on further penalties. Following the race, NASCAR reviewed the situation and levied further punishment. Hill was suspended for 1 Xfinity Series race, so he'll miss the upcoming Iowa Speedway weekend. That suspension triggers a major points consequence as well, because Hill will have to forfeit 21 playoff points. That's all the points he has going into the playoffs, which is a pretty good lead. He earned those during the regular season so far, and he's ineligible to gain more points before the playoffs start. So he's still in the playoffs per the rules, but he's starting with 0 points. So he's going to have to win his way up, basically. Hill entered Indianapolis 5th in the standings, sitting among the top of playoff points with Justin Allgaier and behind Connor Zilich. So now postseason approaching, his playoff picture looks pretty stark. Hill must request a playoff waiver to remain eligible. Even with the waiver, he resets to last in points, entering the first round without any playoff points like we talked about. He loses critical buffer that helps advance him through the elimination rounds. This penalty isn't just a punitive deal. It very likely takes Hill out of the realistic championship contention unless he wins a race before the playoff kickoff. It's such a crazy rule. So Eric Almirola called the wreck definitely intentional. Comparing the impact crash to the one that fractured his back in 2017, he believed Hill had blocked him repeatedly and then hooked him deliberately. Richard Childress, who's Hill's team owner, came out swinging, questioning NASCAR's consistency. He cited that Austin Cindric was not suspended for a similar right rear hook at COTA earlier this season. Childress said, Hill didn't deserve a penalty. They gave us trouble all the time. We're a blue-collar team. Hell no, they didn't do a damn thing to the 2 car. all kinds of stuff from RCR. But it's different on a road course than a high-speed oval, for one. It's not apples to apples. And yeah, it's tough. It's super tough. Looking ahead from that, Austin Dillon is going to drive that number 21 car at Iowa Speedway as Hill serves his suspension. Hill's team over at RCR confirmed they won't appeal the decision, acknowledging the risk, but maintaining focus on the championship goal. Meanwhile, Hill faces the challenge of rebuilding playoff eligibility after the waiver without any playoff points, and his margin for error definitely just disappears after that. So yeah, it's gonna be an uphill battle for him for sure. Man, that's a lot. The Xfinity race. Let's go.
I couldn't hang on to it. I was not trying to right rear him. He had me out of control, and I jerked back to the left to keep it off the wall. I'm not sure what the hell he thought. Just running me over in 3, though.
100% a cheap shot. 100%.
That was a dirty move. Clearly retaliation.
Go over to the Cup Series. Such an emotional and significant moment in the 2025 season here. Bubba Wallace breaks through, gets a victory at the Brickyard, giving 23-11 a huge statement on and off the track, dominated in a dramatic finish, becoming the first black driver to ever win a major race on IMS's famed 2.5-mile oval. It's also a crown jewel race for 23-11. That's their first crown jewel win. I mean, just crazy. It went beyond the usual drama there. Rain delay with 6 laps to go, followed by 2 overtime restarts, fuel strategy concerns. Hard-charging defending champ Kyle Larson was on his tail. Wallace held him off by just 0.2 seconds and kept the victory. He earned it. He absolutely earned it. This was done on merit. This wasn't done on fuel-saving strategy or anything else. He had everyone barking at him. He made it happen. He snapped a grueling 100-race winless streak dating back to 2022, making only his third NASCAR Cup Series career win, and his first win at one of the crown jewel events like we just discussed. Final laps, Wallace was fighting 2 rivals, Larson and his own inner doubt, something he openly admitted fighting over the radio. For 2311 Racing owner Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin, this win means everything. Just 2 weeks ago, the team made headlines for losing their charter and ongoing legal disputes with NASCAR, so the Brickyard triumph is more than just a victory. It's vindication for them. Wallace's win marked the team's first victory in 2025, adding momentum and credibility after lineup controversies and pressure from within the garage. It's a pivotal moment that could set the tone for the rest of the season's narrative. Wallace's win locks him into the 2025 Cup Series playoffs, making him the 13th driver to secure a spot with 4 races left in the regular season. He now carries 7 playoff points towards advancing deeper into the postseason. On playoff standings, he sits 9th among eligible drivers, ahead of Joey Logano, Ross Chastain, and Chris Buescher. The current regular season points leader is Chase Elliott, with William Byron just 4 points back and Kyle Larson trailing by 15. Denny Hamlin is another 5 points behind Larson, giving tight top 4 for the regular season standings going into Iowa. Currently in playoff standings, you got Denny Hamlin in first with 4 wins, Kyle Larson below him with 3 wins, Christopher Bell with 3, Shane Van Gisbergen, the old SVG, with 3, Chase Elliott's in, where's he at? 5th place, yep. Chase Elliott in 5th, William Byron in 6th, Ryan Blaney in 7th. Drivers risking the cut line currently are holding spots 14 through 16. You have Tyler Reddick, who's 138 points above Buescher, and then Bowman's just barely hanging on there at the end. So you've also got Ryan Preece, Kyle Busch, Ty Gibbs, and AJ Allmendinger outside the cut line, but I don't know. I feel like we're still going to see another new race winner with what's left. So prediction is you're only going to have 2 guys point their way into the playoffs. That's not a good place to be. Moral of the story is the Brickyard victory does more than punch Wallace's playoff ticket. It reaffirms 2311 Racing as a contender, particularly after all the after-track turmoil. Wallace's emotional breakthrough shuts down many internal and external doubts, elevates the team once again.
Yeah, I was super content with the race just ending, but I felt the drops in turn 1, and certainly, at that point knew that it was inevitable. We were going to have some shootouts. It didn't look like that rain was going to stick around long. And then at that point, I'm just hoping, because I know that I'm not really in a position in 4th where I'm going to win the race. Not, even on restarts, there's just not many options that you've got. So I'm just thinking at that time, man, I hope Bubba's thinking through all the things he needs to do on those restarts, getting through the gears. I knew that 24 wasn't going to push him. So, he had a tough task ahead of him, and I was just hoping he was going through his mental checklist of all the things he needed.
And let's take a jump over to Formula One 2025 Belgian Grand Prix over there at Spa. Rain, drama, championship, pressure, it had it all. What a roller coaster we had over there at Spa. Delayed nearly 80 minutes due to torrential rain and visibility issues. Drivers riding behind the safety car until racing finally began from lap 5 on a rolling start. Once started, Piastri pounced. He slipped past teammate Lando Norris through the first racing lap there, seizing control and never looking back. He went on to secure his 6th win of the season, finishing around 3.4 seconds ahead of Norris. Charles Leclerc in 3rd, holding off Max Verstappen. McLaren locked in yet another 1-2 finish. That's their 6th of this season, showcasing just how far ahead they are in the teamwork and execution over there. Norris had pole, his first at Spa in 13 years for McLaren, but made several mistakes and struggled under a battery glitch, allowing Piastri to capitalize early. Leclerc held strong for Ferrari, and Verstappen, still adapting to the changes at Red Bull after Christian Horner's exit, crossed the line in 4th. Piastri's win stretched his championship advantage to 16 points ahead of Norris with 11 races remaining in the season. Red Bull's sizable deficit, Verstappen now sits 81 points behind Piastri, puts him in catch-up mode and highlights the title fight as primarily a McLaren showdown. Constructors' Championship, McLaren now leads Ferrari by an incredible 246 points, cementing their dominance through strategic precision and clean execution. One of the keys was the delayed start and decision to wait out until the safety car. Max Verstappen called it overly cautious, while George Russell and others defended the FIA, citing visibility concerns. Spa's dangerous history, especially after past tragedies there. Liam Lawson turned around a rough season by finishing P8 after redirection to the Racing Bulls team. Under his new team principal, he delivered what was described as a near-perfect race, which could be turning point for some momentum for him and that team, which is great to see. Again, this weekend reaffirmed only McLaren drivers are in the title fight. Red Bull will need a near-perfect strategy to do anything to contend with this year's title, and Ferrari's obviously got some work to do on the manufacturer's side of things if they're going to have any chance there. Going to Hungary this next weekend here at the Hungaroring. Title fight is heating up. Right now, it feels like McLaren's got the season to lose. It's all on them. There's also Speed Week in Indiana for USAC. We saw 3 major venues, IMS Dirt, Lincoln Park, and Lawrenceburg, multiple storylines unfolding. Round 1, IMS Dirt. Season kicked off the dirt track at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Justin Grant grabbed the win, fending off a late surge from Logan Seavey. Grant's victory was pretty historic. It extends his streak to 325 consecutive USAC starts, which is a new all-time record for the series. Seavey still managed a top 5 finish despite some issues on the final laps, showing early consistency entering sprint week. That moves us over to round 2 at Lincoln Park Speedway. This was the Friday night race. Robert Ballou returned to victory lane after 14 months, picking up his first USAC win since May of 2024. Ballou battled past Justin Grant mid-race and paced the final 15 laps for a convincing 0.8-second win over Briggs Danner and Kevin Thomas Jr. Grant, after leading early, tangled on lap 20 and fell back, but still salvaged 12th after restarting from deep in the pack. Standings after the Lincoln Park run, Kyle Cummins led the USAC championship with Grant 2nd, Moles 3rd, Seavey 4th, and Ballou 5th. In ISW points, the Speed Week points, Below moves to the top with just 80 points, just ahead of Danner's 77. This takes us to round 3 at Lawrenceburg Speedway. This one was a Sunday race. Logan Seavey led the final 13 laps to win his 3rd Sprint Week feature at Lawrenceburg, tying for his 6th ISW victory overall, 28th National USAC win. He edged out Cale Drake, who moved up from 9th to 2nd place on that run. Kevin Thomas Jr. came around in 3rd. Danner and Ricky Lewis rounded out the top 5. Winvault Seavey from 5th to 1st in the ISW standings, now holding a narrow 2-point lead in the $25,000 championship chase. The week began with Grant surpassing Chase Stockton's record for consecutive starts. Ballou surprised everyone with Lincoln Park breakthrough speed, ending a year-plus drought and delivering a much-needed momentum boost for him and his crew. Seavey, great performance at Lawrenceburg, capped off that strong stretch, posted results of 1st, 3rd, 2nd, 5th, and 1st since early July. Now leads the Sprint Week standings. Cale Drake, another honorable mention, career best 2nd place feature finish on Sunday, moving up 9 spots through the field. Jake Swanson actually earned Hot Laps honors at IMS and Hard Charger at Lincoln Park Speedway. Kyle Shipley won both of the Move of the Night Awards and the Hard Work Awards at Lincoln Park Speedway after overcoming a disallowed qualifying run and still making some ground there. So here's roughly where we're at for the USAC National Sprint points for the season. Kyle Cummins is in first place. Justin Grant in second. He's minus about 140 points. Michael Moles coming in behind him in third place, and Logan Seavey and Briggs Danner rounding out the top 5. So just a great Indiana Speed Week. Did have one of the rounds was moved as it got rained out on Saturday at Kokomo. So that one will change just a little bit and should have the results here this week on that one. Seavey looks to extend his lead, but Blue and Danner can still strike. We're entering the final stretch, so consistency matters, and we'll find out who takes that $25,000. All right, let's jump over to some news. Joe Gibbs Racing officially announced that Denny Hamlin has signed a multi-year contract extension to remain behind the wheel of that number 11 Toyota, staying put through the 2027 season. This 2-year deal is signed just days after Hamlin's 58th career Cup victory at Dover. He's pushing for 60 this year. It's likely to be his final extension in NASCAR. Hamlin, who's now 44 years old, ranks 11th on NASCAR's all-time wins list, has competed in all 706 of his Cup starts with JGR. Despite never securing a championship, his consistency and legacy is undeniable. We have some other contract news as well. William Byron recently signed a 4-year extension, keeping him the number 24 at Hendrick Motorsports through that locks in long-term core alongside Kyle Larson, who's good through 2026, Chase Elliott through 2027, and Alex Bowman through 2028. Beyond Hamlin, JGR and their lineup has solidified Chase Briscoe in the 19 for a multi-year deal after last year's signing. Christopher Bell signed a long-term extension back in 2022, so he's good for a bit. Ty Gibbs has no public long-term contract disclosed, but he shares a last name with the team owner, so I imagine he'll be fine. Daniel Suarez is set to depart Trackhouse after this season, what the team described as a mutual decision. However, I'm sure it was probably a little more than mutual on one end. The team has not announced for his replacement, but we all know Connor Zilic will probably be there. He's the rumored contender, right? Other possibilities in play for NASCAR contracts. According to contract trackers, only William Byron is confirmed for 2026 among Hendrick Motorsports, but this just goes to 2026 silly season may heat up as teams and sponsors map out renewal and replacement plans for 2026. So yeah, we'll just see what happens with that. Obviously, we touched on it just a little bit, but we want to talk 2025 NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series regular season champion Corey Heim. From Daytona to Indy, Heim was simply dominant. 5 wins in the season, explosive victories in Las Vegas, Charlotte, and more. He led over 1,000 laps, racked up 10 top 5s, 12 top 10s. At only 22 years old, his third full-time truck season, he's already cemented himself as a force in the series. At IRP there at the T-Sport 200, Heim needed 39 points to clinch the regular season title. He delivered with a top 5 finish, but added 45 total points and secured the crown 2 races early before the end of the regular season. Despite not having his best truck or his best race, he did start on pole because qualifying was washed out by weather and led 20 laps before fading out of contention. Still enough to wrap up the championship, so congrats to him on that. This is his second regular season title in 3 years. He also won in 2023. He already holds a 143-point gap over Chandler Smith, making his lead absolutely insane with 2 races left in the regular season. Plus, that gives him another 15 playoff bonus points on top of that, boosting his cushion even further. So, Watkins Glen and Richmond to wrap up the regular season, and the playoffs will kick off at Darlington on the 30th of August. Heim's been pretty dominant road courses lately, 3 straight wins dating back to Mid-Ohio in 2023. Watkins Glen could really play into his hands as far as that goes. I would say if you're going to put the money on who's going to win the playoffs championship as well, it's going to be Corey Heim and that team over there at Tricon. Make him a legitimate favorite. Odds are that he's probably going to get it. So if you bet on him, you're going to have to bet pretty heavy to win any money out of it. But playoffs will be the true test. Can he close the deal and lift the series title this fall? I guess we'll wait and see what happens. We also want to touch on a terrifying wreck involving Stuart Friesen during the Super Dirt Car Series modified race at the Autodrome Drummond in Quebec. Friesen's condition, what it seems to do for him in the Truck Series playoffs and everything else. So he was running 4th during the King of the North feature when he jumped the cushion on the backstretch and violently slammed the outside retaining wall in turn 3. The impact flipped his number 44 Dirt Modified into the air, sending him rolling hard before erupting in flames. As the car landed, another competitor barreled into Friesen upside down, causing even more damage and chaos. Despite the severity, Friesen remained alert and communicating with officials before being extracted and taken for medical evaluation. Friesen suffered an unstable open book pelvic fracture and a fractured right leg, both requiring surgery. CT scans came back clear, which was nice. Head, neck, and spine injuries are good, giving his team and his family some measure of relief there. He reportedly experienced a tremendous amount of pain, but remains in serious but stable condition. He was initially treated at a Quebec facility and is being transferred to a larger hospital in New York for the surgery. His wife, Jessica, posted online CT scans clear of any head, neck, or spine injuries. Stewart is still in a tremendous amount of pain, transferred for surgery. The wreck occurred during Friesen's dirt modified return between Truck Series duties. Just a few days earlier, he had won the Weed Sport in the Super Dirt Series and top qualifying as Heat and Drummond. Before the wreck, he was a strong contender for the feature. Stewart Friesen is a key competitor in the NASCAR Truck Series, so he's locked in as a playoff driver as his won in Michigan in June, sitting around 7th in the standings coming into the crash, but his absence from the upcoming Truck Series races due to recovery could shake up how the final regular season race plays out. Drivers sitting just below the cut line like Jake Garcia, Ben Rhodes, and Gio Ruggiero might move up depending how many points Friesen forfeits during his recovery. With 2 races left in the regular season, his absence could definitely shift who advances forward. He's got multiple surgeries ahead and an extended recovery timeline, rehabilitation, all that. So I imagine they'll just have some driver substitutions and still try to, do well with the team for the rest of the season. That was such a bad wreck. The video of it is not pleasant to watch. Yeah, we'll see what it does for the strategies and everything coming forward. But he's now stable, preparing for surgery. He's got a long road ahead of him. So his thoughts and prayers go out to his families, friends, and all that, teammates. We'll just see how the team manages in his absence. And thankfully, he could have been in far worse shape as bad as that wreck was. So we're glad that it's just a leg and a pelvis. I know he's in a lot of pain, but could have been way worse.
That's good news, because from what Andy Wallace was saying about the car having turned over, in that open sports car, although it does have a rollover bar, might have been quite an alarming situation. It was a long time before they were able to move him from the track side. They got the car off the track quicker than they, I'm afraid, got the driver off the track. Anyway, they're now going through and racing again. Yes, the race is once more freed of the safety car. Rupert Keegan has just, whilst you're telling us all that, performed a nice little spin going out of the start. So Keegan was actually surprised by the spin.
Let's move on with some history for this week. This week we're going to talk about somebody who was a little flamboyant, very glamorous in the era that he ran for Formula One, and that's Rupert Keegan, a career driver who had speed, swagger, and one unforgettable image in the paddock. He may not have had a trophy cabinet full of Formula One wins, but his story is a wild ride through the 1970s glamour, grit, and guts, with a few penthouse models, aero chassis, and a dash of missed opportunity along the way. So let's get into it. The early days, Rupert Keegan was born February 26, 1955, in Westcliff-on-Sea, Essex, the son of Mike Keegan, a successful airline magnate who would later back his son's racing career. Rupert originally wanted to act, but let's just say school and he weren't on the same page. After the final exam mix-up and a broken-down motorbike, he was out. Acting dream was over. He found racing, watching Emerson Fittipaldi win at Brands Hatch in 1972. From there, it was straight into the deep end. Saloon racing in a Ford Escort in Mexico, then Formula Ford in 74, Formula 3 by 75. It was rough at first. He was quick, but as Rupert admitted, he bent a lot of cars. By 1976, he was unstoppable, though. He learned quick. In 1976, Keegan won the British Formula 3 Championship, one of the most competitive in the world at the time, driving a March chassis. He went head-to-head with Italy's Bruno Giacomelli. It all came down to a nail-biting final round at Thruxton, where Keegan, knowing he needed to keep Giacomelli behind, refused to lift going into turn one. They collided. Gia was out. Keegan's car survived. He didn't win the race, but he won the championship, earning both headlines and a reputation for being willing to risk everything, the kind of edge that in those days could land you in a Formula One seat pretty easily. Keegan debuted in Formula One with Hesketh Racing in 1977. And no, this wasn't the same championship-winning Hesketh that carried James Hunt to stardom in 75. By 77, the team was on life support, but it still had a flair to it. Penthouse Magazine was the sponsor, and Keegan's car featured pinup decals and Rizla logos. while the team paddock was often flanked by women dressed as French maids. Yes, that was a real thing that actually happened. Rupert qualified for every race he entered, no small feat given the 30-plus car grids and pre-qualifying mayhem of that time. He had some solid outings too, 7th at the Austrian Grand Prix, gutsy run where he held his own against seasoned pros, even passed Jackie Oliver around the outside at Paddock Hill during a race of champions, which earned him some real respect in the paddock. But the Penthouse sponsorship and good looks got him labeled as a playboy, something Rupert often bristled at. As he later said, "I didn't party, I trained hard, but no one wanted to hear that. Still, the image stuck." So, just one of those things that happens, I guess, when it's all over your car. In 1978, Keegan joined Team Surtees, which ironically was now sponsored by Durex. Yes, the jokes write themselves here. The car was awful. The team struggled with reliability, and Rupert only managed 6 race starts that year. A nasty injury in Zandvoort during a warm-up sidelined him, and it looked like his F1 chances were over, but then he did something smart. He went back to dominate in Britain. In 1979, Rupert earned the Aurora AFX British Formula One Championship, a national series using older F1 machinery. He drove an Arrows A1 and Charles Close Racing, and he lit it up. He took 5 wins and consistently on the front row. He entered the final race at Silverstone, needing second place to win the title. In classic Keegan fashion, he got tangled with title rival David Kennedy. Both ended up in the barriers, but Rupert somehow recovered to finish second. He won the championship by 2 points, which was broadcast live on the BBC. The Aurora title got him back into the F1 conversation. He returned in 1980 with Ram/Williams, and again in 1982 with March, but those were backmarker efforts, and his F1 record would close with 37 entries, 25 starts, and 0 points. But it wasn't for the lack of effort, just poor equipment and bad timing. Rupert wasn't done, though. He switched to endurance racing and found a new life. In 1983, racing with Guy Edwards in a Porsche 956, he finished 5th at Le Mans, a rock-solid performance. Next year, driving for John Fitzpatrick Racing, he nabbed podiums at Silverstone, Brands Hatch, and a strong second place at Motorsport, finishing just behind a factory Porsche. Then came a stint in the IndyCar series in 1985. He made 3 starts with Machinist Unions Racing and even tried qualifying for the Indy 500 in 1986. But again, bad equipment and politics derailed that effort. As Rupert once put it, "The car wasn't safe. I didn't want to die in it." That was the end of the U.S. chapter. Keegan wasn't just a driver, he was a character. In the 90s, he made sporadic appearances in Indy Lights, and in 95, he returned to Le Mans in a Lister Storm alongside Jeff Lees and Dominic Chappell. Though the car retired early, they made an effort. In his later years, he was a favorite at Goodwood Revival, often piloting stunning historics, Ferraris, Astons, you name it. Fans loved him, not just for his speed, but the stories. He talked shop, laughed about the Penthouse years, remind everyone that racing was supposed to be fun. He passed away September 2024 on the Italian island of Elba. He was 69 years old. So let's talk about his stats real quick and then get some closing thoughts on this. British Formula One champion in 76, multiple wins and a title, 37 entries, 25 starts, 0 points for his F1 efforts. Best F1 finish was 7th at the 77 Austrian Grand Prix. He did win the championship in the Aurora British F1 we talked about in 79. He had 5 wins that time, that series, 5 wins in that season. Sports car highlights, 5th at Le Mans, multiple podiums and smaller races. He did do the 3 kart races in 1985 with a 10th place finish as being his best one there. So Rupert Keegan never made it to the Formula One podium. He never won a Grand Prix, but he had real speed, and he squeezed more color, more chaos, and more character into his career than most world champions did at that time. He was a throwback to when racing wasn't just about telemetry and tire degradation. It was about nerve, instinct, and living large. And for that, we thank him.
And there's been another off at Indianapolis. Rupert Keegan with the Skull Bandit Porsche 956, number 55, has gone off in a big way, or so it would seem, as out goes number 7 Newman car. We go to the Skull Bandit pit to see exactly what has happened. And there is the damage to the front suspension. You can see that the wishbone has been sheared, and that has damaged the monocoque. After getting to as high as 6th position at the 4-hour mark, there is no way they're going to be able to repair that.
We're going to wrap it up there. Please always like, share, subscribe. We'll keep this thing going. If you know somebody who's into motorsports, please share it. And follow us on all the socials. We're on all of them there. You name it, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube channel. I mean, you follow it all. We appreciate it. Available on Spotify, Apple, all the podcast platforms. And until next time, stay safe, and thanks for tuning in.